airline industry where the orders for new planes has been slow.
Economists insist the job market will improve during the second half of this year. But if positive economic developments prompt more people to seek jobs faster than they are created, the unemployment rate could get worse before it gets better. Ken Kashwahara, ABC News, San Francisco.
To hear President Bush tell it jobs are at the center of a very nasty and now very public dispute within his administration about environmental policy. At his news conference last night, Mr. Bush said extremists in the environmental movement want the U.S. to sign environmental treaties that will throw Americans out of work. Well, that is not the way they see it at the Earth Summit now underway in Brazil. ABC's Barry Serafin is in Rio de Janeiro.
Officials from around the world today began signing the Biodiversity Treaty, which is designed to save endangered species. But the U.S., which thinks the treaty would cost too much, refused to sign. With the U.S. watering down the global warming treaty and standing alone on biodiversity, this would have been a difficult day under any circumstances for EPA Administrator William Riley, head of the U.S. delegation. But Riley's life was made considerably more difficult when someone at the White House leaked to the New York Times the story that Riley made a confidential, last-minute effort to make the treaty acceptable to the administration, but was rebuffed. Riley was embarrassed and angry.
It was a deliberate leak, obviously, intended to, I think, ensure that we did not come to closure or consensus on biodiversity. It's not helpful to the process here, and in my view, it's very unhelpful and disloyal to the president.
U.S. delegation sources blamed the leak on Vice President Quayle's staff at the White House Council on Competitiveness, which generally puts jobs ahead of environmental concerns. Riley rejected speculation that he might resign after this, the latest in a long series of clashes with White House aides. But he said it will make things tougher here in Rio.
Mr. Riley, does this not undercut both you and the president here?
Well, yes, I think it does.
Summit delegates and observers were buzzing with the controversy. Many of them believe the U.S. is not only out of step with the world, the White House is out of step with itself. President Bush, who is due here next week, was already the target of criticism at this summit. This latest controversy will only make matters worse. Barry Serafin, ABC News, Rio de Janeiro.
Tennessee Senator Albert Gore, who's also attending the conference, called the affair unfortunate and said the U.S. is getting a public black eye. All in all, not a very enviable position for the man who calls himself the environmental president. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hume.
The president was well aware today of the flap in Rio over the White House rebuff of EPA Chief Riley on the Animal and Plant Species Treaty. All day, the president was at pains to insist that treaty or no treaty, he really does back Riley.
Mr. Riley, a top environmentalist, has my full support. He conducts himself the way he should, with great dignity and great decency.
Mr. Bush denounced as offensive the leak of Riley's memo, but it was also clear that when the president goes to the Rio summit late next week, it will not be to apologize for his record on the environment.
I am the one that is burdened with finding the balance between sound environmental practice on the one hand and jobs for American families on the other. And we're walking a tight line there. We've found a proper formulation for America, and that is my responsibility.
That followed by just hours, similar tough talk on the same subject at his news conference last night. Again, with the emphasis on that institution that just happens to be a central focus of his re-election campaign.
And I'm not going to forget the American family. And if they don't understand it in Rio, too bad.
Senior officials here say the president is genuinely fed up with criticism of his environmental record and eager to take the offensive in Rio. Doing so will also give him the chance to trumpet his campaign theme of family values. That may be a coincidence, but it's not an accident. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
In a moment, today's other news. Beware the sun. The government says that sunscreens may not be doing the job. The Prince and Princess of Wales. Once again, their private troubles have become very public. And on this Friday, our person of the week trying to make a world of difference.
The new baby was up all night. Now you gotta make the morning right. Folgers always come through. It's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mountain Grown Folgers decaffeinated. It gives you something the other leading brand doesn't. richer aroma to wake you up.
Now you're off to a great start, 'cause Folgers warmed your heart. What a wonderful way to let the sun shine on your day. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
You make me feel so young.
Promise Extra Light Spread. Half the saturated fat and calories of margarine and a taste you'll enjoy with all your heart.
You make me feel so young.
Now Promise Extra Light in sticks. Get Heart Smart.
The Chief of Naval Operations sent out the word today. The time for mixed signals has passed. Sexual abuse and harassment will no longer be tolerated. Admiral Frank Kelso has ordered all Navy personnel to undergo special training on what constitutes harassment and abuse. It is a response to several highly publicized incidents of sexual harassment involving Navy personnel. There was a warning today about suntan lotion. It has to do with those numbers sunbathers have come to rely on for judging how much protection they're getting from the sun. The answer is not as much as you may think. Here's ABC's Bettina Gregory.
The sun protection factor number carried on suntan lotions and sunblocks tells how much protection they give against ultraviolet B, the rays which cause sunburn. But that SPF number says nothing about ultraviolet A, which does not cause sunburn but can cause skin cancer and even damage the immune system. One senator charged today sunbathers are being lulled into a false sense of security.
My attitude as a consumer is if I don't burn, I'm okay.
The sunscreens that are on the market today simply are not protecting to the extent that we feel, at least certainly I feel, they should be.
For the last 14 years, the Food and Drug Administration has been considering how to label suntan lotions for protection against ultraviolet A. Today, the FDA confessed the government doesn't even know how to test these products. There is one new product, this little badge, which turns orange in the center when the wearer has been overexposed to ultraviolet A and B. Other than that, dermatologists advise sunbathers to use lotions which provide at least a sun protection factor of 15. They also warn those under 18 who get a bad sunburn, they dramatically increase their chances of developing skin cancer later in life. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost a point. They closed at 33.98. The trading was heavy. Not much change for the week. Stocks gained a little less than 2 points. In New York today, a federal judge has ruled that the Bush administration does have the legal right to intercept Haitian refugees at sea and return them directly to Haiti. Judge Sterling Johnson said the policy was legal but unconscionable and hypocritical. The United States is going to take another look at the case of John Demjanjuk. He's the man Israel has maintained is the Nazi concentration camp guard Ivan the Terrible. Today, a U.S. appeals court said Demjanjuk may be the wrong man and has ordered the Justice Department to justify its decision, which led to his extradition from the U.S. to Israel. We'll be back in just a minute.
Red Devil enamel. You can always count on its durable finish. Harder than ordinary paints, its beauty lasts and lasts. Red Devil enamel for the finish of a lifetime.
Dear Thompson's, when the store ran out of Thompson's water seal, we finished our deck with another brand. What a mistake. The Thompson side beat it up, the other side, nothing. Even the clerk agreed. Nothing works like Thompson's. Sincerely, Becky Jones, Charlotte, North Carolina.
You probably think the best American car value is some little econo-box you have to settle for, right? Nope. It's a Buick. The luxurious Buick Park Avenue. That's according to the Complete Car Cost Guide. They calculated the 5-year cost of depreciation, financing, insurance, fuel, maintenance, and repairs, and found that Park Avenue is the best American car value. For a free reprint from the Complete Car Cost Guide, call 1-800 for a Buick.
Your rugged routine, day after day. It's even harder when athlete's foot routinely comes back. Get prescription strength Lotrimin AF. It kills all causes of athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF, the finish line for athlete's foot.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation to the Bahamas, Caribbean, or Mexican Riviera on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Overseas today, the siege of Sarajevo. For more than 60 days, Serbian fighters have kept up a steady bombardment of the city. And the UN official says if relief supplies do not get in soon, there could be mass starvation. Brief report from ABC's David Ensor.
At dusk, the shelling starts. Serbian artillery dropping shells near Sarajevo's Muslim minarets. And last night, it was one of the heaviest bombardments in the 2-month siege of Sarajevo. Artillery, machine gun fire, rockets. Filmed by a television crew from Britain's Sky News. In basement shelters, hungry city residents tried to sleep. Today, all sides in the conflict allowed soldiers and cadets from the Marshal Tito barracks in the city to evacuate, meeting a key demand of the Serb irregulars bombing the city. In exchange, they have promised to allow the UN to take over Sarajevo airport and to bring in food. In Sarajevo, there is hope, at least, that there may not be many more nights like last night. David Ensor, ABC News, Belgrade.
There's an election today in another European country that may be coming apart. 2.5 years after the Communist Party was swept away, the people of Czechoslovakia are choosing a new parliament which has the power to answer 2 crucial questions. Should Czechs and Slovaks remain together as one nation? And should Václav Havel continue to be their leader? Here's ABC's Jerry King.
Václav Havel is one of the most celebrated leaders of all the anti-communist revolutions. Playwright, intellectual, philosopher. He always made one thing clear.
I don't want to be the professional politician.
But he became one. The last 2.5 years have been on-the-job training for President Havel.
And as much as people revere him, many regret that it's apparently not in his nature to be the rough-and-tumble political leader his country may need.
Jan Urban was one of Havel's closest aides during his rise to power.
As a moral authority, he's the best we could get, and he has done a tremendous job. As a leader, I think he failed.
Havel has tried to stay above party politics, but without a strong power base, he is having a hard time holding his country together. Czechoslovakia is a federation of 2 republics, with Czechs like Havel historically dominating the poorer Slovakian half of the country. Critics say Havel's biggest failure was to underestimate how much Slovaks resent that domination. Even his good intentions have sometimes backfired. He tried to take his country out of the lucrative business of selling weapons, but that meant more unemployment in Slovakia, where the arms industry is based.
I am Slovak, and Mr. Havel is, for me, no good.
Many Slovaks are hoping their own leaders, like Vladimir Mečiar, will eventually lead them to independence. By contrast, Havel, with his much more low-key style, has a harder time being heard.
His role now, I would compare to the Queen of England. Absolute powerlessness in politics, but still beloved by the population.
That could be enough to keep him in office, but if Havel cannot reconcile his sense of morality with the country's need for reality, he may only be a popular figurehead. Jerry King, ABC News, Prague.
You heard a mention there of the British royal family. People in Britain awoke this morning to more bad news about the royal family. The marital troubles of the royals are always front-page news in Britain, and this year those troubles have been legion. And this time the headlines about the heir to the throne, Prince Charles, and his wife are more ominous than usual. Here's ABC's Mike Lee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Princess of Wales made a speech last night urging greater public sympathy for victims of drug abuse. That made this morning's headlines even more of a shocker. The Daily Mail claimed that Diana once tried to commit suicide with an overdose of non-prescription painkillers. It was 6 years ago after an alleged telephone argument with Prince Charles. TV commercials are hyping 2 new books which allege that the fairy tale marriage of 10 years ago may have eroded beyond the point of repair. The books are being serialized by rival newspapers whose editors claim to have the inside story.
Diana has been deeply unhappy throughout most of her marriage. Relations between her and Charles now are very close to breaking point. They have almost no relationship at all.
There is speculation that Diana herself may have encouraged publicity about her troubled marriage.
Perhaps she's trying to pave the way for the public recognition that her marriage is over, but she can never divorce, and she wants the sympathy of the British public to know that she is soldiering on, being this brilliant, wonderful person, but without the love and comfort of her husband.
On the rare occasions they appear together, like yesterday, it is strictly for ceremonial duties. It has not been a good year for the royals. Princess Anne is divorced. Prince Andrew and the Duchess of York are separated. And now the British must face the possibility that the heir to the throne and his wife may have an uncertain future together. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Is this seat taken?
No, please.
So that's what you're eating? Too bad.
This is a whole grain cereal.
Yes, with sugar and preservatives.
Oh, and I suppose that you're
Kellogg's Nutri-Grain. It's made with pure whole grain.
Oh, really?
It's the only whole grain cereal without sugar or preservatives added.
The only one? I didn't know.
I know.
So what else should I know?
You have milk on your chin?
Kellogg's Nutri-Grain, as good as whole grain gets. Morning breath.
As soon as I have my coffee, it's all gone.
Whether you admit it or not, it's a problem.
Okay, I have morning breath, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Don't be so sure.
Mine's not so bad.
Morning breath's not as bad as you think. It's worse. So get Scope. Its 2 powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Was my morning breath really that bad?
There's no denying morning breath, so save your breath with Scope.
Crystal Light. Taste the rainbow of refreshment. A burst of lemon. A splash of pink. A spray of lime. Crystal Light. Refreshment for body and soul.
Fleischmann's Margarine asks, what is good?
Oh, that's good. Real good. And that's very good. Fleischmann's. Of course, that's good. And will you look at that? Oh, there you go. That's better than good. Oh, boy.
Fleischmann's Margarine. Have you been good to yourself today?
That's good.
Fleischmann's. Be good to yourself.
In presidential politics tonight, a theory that may help explain why so many voters seem willing to abandon the 2 major political parties. A theory, as we said, as ABC's Jeff Greenfield reports, it may reflect a basic change in the way Americans see the world around them.
Not so long ago, we told ourselves it couldn't happen here. A serious challenge to the 2-party system was just about inconceivable. So why now? One reason, Americans feel much less loyal to the parties than they once did. In fact, there are twice as many independents as there were back in the heyday of the New Deal. Today, independents outnumber Republicans and almost equal Democrats. That may be because the 2 parties are much less involved now in people's lives. The big city political machines that once provided food, jobs, and clean streets are almost a thing of the past. Even at campaign time, the traditions that tied voters to parties, the torchlight parades and neighborhood rallies, have been largely replaced by the TV campaign, much more impersonal, more detached. But that's only part of the story. Across American life, we're discovering that there are more and more choices where once there were few or none at all. It wasn't that long ago that if you wanted to make a telephone call, you used the phone company. Now there are more companies, more phone systems than we can keep track of. If you wanted to buy a car, there were 3 automobile companies, not dozens. If you wanted entertainment, you went to whatever was playing at the Bijou. Now there's a limitless choice. If you watch television, you had 3 networks to choose from. Now there are dozens. It is, in fact, the most striking pattern of our time, the appetite and ability of Americans to find alternatives to the entrenched ways of doing things. It isn't that surprising, then, that so many are now weighing a new way to choose a president. Jeff Greenfield, ABC News, New York.
We'll be back in just a minute.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and the Person of the Week are brought to you by Sherwin-Williams Paint Stores.
If you want to paint like a professional painter, you need to develop all 5 senses. Your sense of color, your sense of balance, your sense of pride and craftsmanship, and most importantly, your sense of direction. There's only one paint this good, and there's only one place you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams.
Gas pressure means pain and bloating. And the way doctors see it, your best choice for relief is Mylanta Gas. It has the best medicine for gas.
Listen, athlete's foot fungus grows beneath the surface of your skin. To cure it, you've got to get down to the root of the problem. You need Mycotin.
Mycotin penetrates the surface of your skin with miconazole to cure athlete's foot where it grows. Step up to the mic. Mycotin.
Rebate. Now's the time to buy built-to-last appliances from Frigidaire, because you'll find big rebates on Frigidaire refrigerators, washers, ranges, and more. Like this energy-efficient refrigerator with CFC reduced insulation. It has adjustable gallon-deep bins, so big and tall things stay out of the way. Plus lots of adjustable glass shelves and clear-view compartments. Best of all, it's not just a fridge, it's a Frigidaire. So hop on over to your Frigidaire dealer and pick up something new for your pad.
What could 2020 have found out about this POW hunter to make him this angry? Plus, women safe sex in condoms. Many men refuse to wear them. Is the new female condom the answer? 2020 tonight.
Finally, this evening, our person of the week. We have chosen a very outspoken individual this time. He is, by every definition of the term, an internationalist. A man whose whole life history has been marked by achievement and a desire to make the world a better place to live in. Not just for some people, but for everyone. It is, after all, everyone's world.
The summit really has to effect a change in direction. Obviously, there's no quick fix for the problems of our civilization. What we need to do is establish here in Rio the basic foundation for a shift in course.
Maurice Strong is a wealthy industrialist turned public servant. He's the man who organized the United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro. It was an enormous job. This is the largest gathering of world leaders ever.
I didn't get them here. I think the issue got them here. I'm simply the maitre d'. I'm arranging the table.
At this or any other table, Mr. Strong is a forceful character, and yet he is hopeful about finding ways to make the Earth a better place to live.
We are now a species out of control. The Earth Summit is not an end in itself. It is a new beginning.
When it comes to the environmental issues that are central to our survival, global warming, deforestation, industrial waste, automobile emissions, overpopulation, Maurice Strong warns delegates from the industrialized nations that the cost in the short term to clean up the mess we have made and change the way we do business will be much less than the price we will all pay if we don't.
We have got to bring our economic life under control. It is through our economic life that we affect the environment, that most of the issues that we have been facing arise. We can't do it, however, without the cooperation of some 80% of the people who live in the developing world. So we're all really in it together.
In other words, the rich nations must help the poor. Maurice Strong learned about poverty and the environment at a very young age.
I've always had a great affinity for nature. This started very early in my life. I lived in a place where nature was very close, very accessible.
He is referring to rural Manitoba, the Canadian province where he grew up during the Great Depression. Strong's father was unemployed throughout the Depression. The family lived in a shanty.
What it really did is bring home to me, in a very real, personal sense, what it means to be poor and underprivileged.
After graduating from high school at the top of his class when he was 14, Strong ran away from home. He ended up in Alaska as a trapper. At 18, he made his way to New York, to the United Nations, which had always fascinated him.
I was a pass officer, which means I helped to issue passes.
But Strong was a restless young man. He soon wandered back to Canada, where he got a job in the oil industry. By the late 1950s, he'd begun his own oil exploration company. He was a millionaire by age 35. It was as an oil man that he began to see firsthand the damaging effects that industry was having on the environment.
Of course I was part of the problem. We're all part of the problem.
And so it was back to the United Nations to see if he could help. And ever since, he has been in and out of United Nations service, working on the environment, on development projects, on hunger throughout the world. Maurice Strong is a persuasive negotiator and a very good salesman. He tells the world leaders that good business sense can save the environment and that potentially huge markets for environmentally safe products are good for business.
We have to, in effect, in business terms, manage Earth Incorporated.
Maurice Strong pledges that he will be there to help make it happen.
It will not be a matter of wearing hair shirts in the future and reverting to some more primitive form of life. We have options not only to save the life of our planet, but to make it a much more wholesome, a much more exciting, a much more challenging life even than that which we experience.
And so we choose Maurice Strong. As must be apparent from all of the news stories now, this Earth Summit in Rio is overflowing with tension among the nations. It seems they only agree on one thing, the quality of the man who's trying to bring them together. As someone said, he is the world's most tireless cheerleader for the planet. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Sunday, Billy Crystal.
Is this good for you?
And Alan King.
Well, what does he do? He's the professional embarrassment.
In a story about fathers and sons.
Who do you think sent you through medical school?
Uncle Dave.
Well, he could afford it.
The man is a pit bull.
Billy Crystal, Jo Beth Williams, and Alan King.
I love this.
A network television premiere, Memories of Me, Sunday.
Every time the Grand Prix comes to town, you dream about being a race car driver. But just because you're not a race car driver doesn't mean you can't have fun while you're driving. That's why your Ford dealers are having their Grand Prix of savings with the best deals of the year, like the top Ford F-150 Super Cab, with Grand Prix savings of $2,000. And that's loaded with AM/FM stereo, air conditioning, 5-speed transmission, and more. But with these savings, they're really moving fast. So stop dreaming and have some fun. The starting line is at your Ford dealer.
If you're a woman, or there's a woman in your life who has a drinking or other drug problem, contact the Harold Hughes Women's Recovery Center. We can help.
When severe weather hits central Iowa, turn to the storm team that keeps you in touch. At Channel 5, 3 meteorologists use their expertise to track dangerous storms. With the exclusive Guardian Lightning Tracker, Pam Dale, Rick Mitchell, and Dave Rexroth will warn you first during severe storm conditions. When you need to know the weather, turn to Channel 5. Weather you can count on.
Increasing cloudiness this evening with temperatures in the 70s.
Come and knock on our door. We've been waiting for you. Where the kisses are hers and his sweet company too.